and welcome to my webinar entitled Pastoral Care in Real Play, especially during COVID-19 and the lockdown restrictions. This presentation should be 30 minutes. The common theme around this whole topic or presentation is kindness. And I believe this reassures people that they are not alone, especially if feeling worried. Help and support can be put in place for those in need. So, who am I in all of this? Well, my name is Jennifer Valentine Miller. I qualified in 2014 with a BA Honours degree, and I developed my skills as a pastoral care practitioner. I do not give advice, but share my experience if required. I would allow my client to guide me so that we seek for a solution. I'll try and understand my client's dilemma by utilizing the models and processes of reflection and critical thinking. I will also apply mechanisms from theorists for problem solving and decision making. So what definitions are there for pastoral care? Well, pastoral care is an ancient model of emotional and spiritual support that can be found in all cultures and tradition. A pastoral ministry is specific to religion, primarily Christianity, and is historically the implementation of a Christian system of belief. And pastoral care, in the instance of being at school, is the provision the school uses to ensure the physical and emotional welfare of a child. And you'll know when it works, because a successful pastoral care program means that your child is safe, happy, involved, and able to perform to their full potential. So what are the first things to do within a pastoral care setting? Excuse me if I just make some amendments to the PowerPoint screening. That might cause confusion. Well, first thing is I'll thank the client for sharing their personal information with me. Pastoral care is all about utilising basic counselling skills. So I'll focus on my preferred strategies in dealing with these settings. The model for pastoral care as a personal interaction can be found or highlighted within one of the books I've listed. This one is In Living Colour by the author Emmanuel Y. Latte. The author explains how relational skills are employed to assist people explore, clarify, and change with unwanted thoughts. And this also includes feeling and behaviour. The focus tends to be on the individual in such interaction. Much value is placed on the person cared for gaining insight.